We're live, Chairman.
Good evening. Welcome to this first meeting of the West Craven Area Committee in 2021. Can I extend wishes for a healthy new year to everyone in the meeting and anybody that might be watching online. This is a working meeting of a Pendle Council committee and we've got an agenda to go through. I'll try and explain each item as we come to it. First of all, I'm going to ask people to introduce themselves. So I'll start with myself. My name is David Whip. I chair the area committee and I'm a councillor here in Bonalswick. So if I go around in the order that I can see people, and then if I've missed anybody out, they can shout at the end. So, Mike, I've got you top left.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name's Mike Goldthorpe. I'm a councillor for Earby Ward in Pendle Borough Council.
Thank you. Governor Pollard.
Christine Pollard. I'm Salford Parish Council.
Very good. You can actually change your name, you know, if you click on it and you can adjust it.
I did try.
You don't have to be a governor.
I did try, but when I have my governors' meetings, I'll have to change it back one.
Yes, yeah, it's not difficult.
Right.
Rosemary, we can't quite see you, but your name is there. Councillor Carroll? Well, believe me, Councillor Carroll is in the meeting, or at least her camera is. So we'll see whether she'll speak later on. Jennifer.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name's Jennifer Purcell and I'm the Borough Councillor for Craven Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. And could I just remind people to turn the microphones off once they've spoken, and then that helps with the clarity of the audio. Colin.
Oh, good evening. I'm Colin Carter, councillor for Earby Ward.
Jane.
Sorry, it was just not a muting then. Yes, good evening, everyone. Jane Mills, Coates Ward, councillor Bonalswick.
Ken.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Ken Hartley, councillor for Craven Ward, Bonalswick.
Joanne.
Joanne Eccles, a committee administrator at Pendle Council.
Thank you. David.
Good evening all. David Walker, Environmental Services Manager, Area Coordinator for West Craven Committee.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter Hampson, representing Earby Town Council.
Thank you. I've got 3 W's now, so I've got Jane, I think.
Yes, Jane Watson, Pendle Council. I'm just in the background tonight, Chairman.
Okay. And I've got Neil Watson.
Good evening, Neil Watson. I'm a service manager for tonight, dealing with the planning matters on the agenda.
Thank you. And Tom Whip.
Hi, I'm Tom Whip. I'm a councillor for the Coates Ward in Bonalswick.
Joanne, could I ask what apologies we received, and were we expecting Marjorie to join us? She did accept the invitation.
No, I've just spoken to Marjorie. She's given her apologies. I'm not sure whether the police are coming or not. I sent an invitation to Tim Hitchen, who normally sends it to an officer if he's attending, but I've not heard anything.
Okay, and I noticed that Emma West has declined the invitation, so I'm assuming that those are her apologies.
And I'm here now as well, Chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. We welcomed you in your absence, Rosemary. There was a sort of shadow. It was black and shimmering. So we did welcome you to the meeting and thought we might hear from you later on. Right, let's get on with it. We haven't had any requests to speak from any members of the public tonight. So we'll go straight into the agenda. Sorry. The first item is declarations of interest, and this is where councillors have to declare any items where they have a prejudicial pecuniary interest, in other words, a direct financial interest in any issues. Are there any councillors that need to declare those? We'll note that. Item 2 is public question time. I haven't been notified of any, so I'm going to assume that we don't have anybody. Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting. Would somebody move those as correct record, please?
Move them as correct, yeah.
Thank you, Ken. Are they seconded? Thank you, Jane.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. Are there any errors that people spotted in the minutes? In that case, we'll accept those as a correct record. Item 4 is police and community safety issues. As Joanne has just reported, we don't have any police officers with us. Can I report for a start that Inspector Boast has moved on to Pastors New, and he has been replaced by Inspector Andy Ainsworth, and Chief Inspector Andy Cartwright has also moved on. He's covering Burnley now, and he's been replaced by Chief Inspector Marie Howarth. The officers on the ground remain the same, although you'll recall that we've had recent additions to the local team. Now, I seem to recall that we did have a set of figures emailed round. Am I imagining that? Joanne, can you confirm that that's the case?
Yeah, the figures for December.
Right. I will try and get those up on screen and then people can see them. Just forgive me whilst I navigate to the appropriate. Somebody's going to have beaten me to this, aren't they? Right, I'll share these on screen and then we can have a look at those. So you should be able to see the figures now?
Yes, can see them.
Yeah, thank you very much. So these figures show the reported crimes in December 2020. There's a column for each ward and then the total of the 3 wards that we've currently got. And then the plus or minus figure at the end there is the change in the number in each of those categories from last year. And also in the bottom line here, antisocial behaviour, there are the numbers in brackets there relate to the COVID related figures. So they've also identified 3 or 4 areas there which are hotspots for antisocial behaviour. So in Craven Ward, Stewart Street, West Close Road, in Coates Ward, and then Aspen Lane and Wentcliffe Drive, perhaps couple those together, and then Kenilworth Drive in Earby. So can I ask if there's any comments or questions from people in the meeting on those figures? I can't see anybody indicating. Tom, you've indicated.
Thanks, Chair. Do we know if the COVID figures in brackets, are they separate or are they just part of the total in the box as well as?
I think they're part of the total. So in other words, 11 in Craven Ward, 11 incidents of antisocial behaviour, of which 6 are COVID-19 related, and similar with the other ones. So they're inclusive of the COVID figures. Any further comments or questions on those items? If not, I will move on to discuss briefly community safety issues more generally, and just sticking with the COVID-19 related matters. The sadly, I'm not sure whether they're included in the figures or not, but there were at least a couple of large parties involving scores of people in West Craven during December, and I, for one, had several calls about that, about those, and I do know that the police were investigating those, but I don't know what the outcome was with that. I think the other issues that have been highlighted, although perhaps a bit more subdued over the quieter Christmas period, has been the regular antisocial behaviour activities and criminal activities associated with yobbish cars, local parks and other meeting grounds, which continue to be a bit of a problem. I've just got a message from Marjorie to say, would I give her apologies? Couldn't get her afternoon nap in today. Any further comments about community safety issues generally? No one indicating. Jane.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I've noticed one or two things, but they could be included in those figures actually, regarding vehicle crime, break-ins to vehicles, vans stolen, things like that, round about the run-up to Christmas or around about the Christmas period. And then at the beginning of December, around about the 7th, there were quite a few complaints regarding, again, speeding on Manchester Road, and people having trouble walking up and down that road with the speed that the cars are going up and down that stretch. I think it's mainly in the 30 mile an hour limit where the road narrows. And I do wonder whether LCC can maybe get a little bit more involved in that and do what they've done on Skipton Road, and that's to put a speed awareness area, information, and maybe just try and get people's attention, draw people's attention to it. It is a tight bit of road and there are pedestrians and things around. But those are the few things that I've come up with anyway. Thank you.
In terms of that last point, Manchester Road is one of the roads that we've highlighted at previous meetings with the problem of road safety, and we did submit not a long list, but we did submit a comprehensive list, which we pulled together, I think, after the last meeting. There have been signs, community speed concern area put up, which quite frankly are roundly dismissed by most residents as being ineffective. And the issue that sparked the most recent concern was when one of the residents was pulling out of a blind drive, and somebody came bombing up the hill and didn't really pay attention to what was happening. I have suggested to residents that they perhaps got a petition together that we could present to Lancashire County Council. The issue of road safety and its consideration by the County Council is a bit hopeless at the moment, in that we are referred to a website the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership website and asked her to sort of log issues on there. And what they're saying in terms of speeding is, if they've looked at an issue, they won't come back to it to have another look at it for a period of a long, long time. And all the sort of detailed stuff, like our requests for pedestrian crossings or speed cameras to be provided, or in the case of A56 at Earby, we suggested putting a mini roundabout in at the junction of New Road, Victoria Road and Con Road and Skipton Roads, both to make that junction safer and to slow the traffic on the main road. So we put all these suggestions into the pot, but there isn't any opportunity to discuss them. And there is a meeting that is, the minutes are reported to this and other area committees from time to time, which is the traffic liaison meeting. And our Pendle Council representative at that meeting is saying, well, there isn't the opportunity to discuss the speeding issues. She's just told, well, you put it on the website. So frankly, the whole situation is very unsatisfactory. From a police perspective, I do know that they have been out and about with the community camera, and there has been some activity in West Craven, although I think we could have had more. So perhaps we should be doing two things. First of all, in terms of the county council as the highway authority, and probably it isn't just the area committee, it ought to be Pendle Council as a whole. So perhaps we ought to resolve to Police and Resources to ask that the county council take road safety issues seriously and request for action on speeding to be taken seriously. And then secondly, that we reiterate our request to the police for better enforcement activity in order to ensure that the speeds are more likely to be kept to. Does that have the support of the committee? Jane, you're happy with that? Yeah. Various nods and other significant. Jennifer, I've got you wanting to come in. Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've said more or less what I've said, but we have a problem down Gisborne Road at the moment with farm tractors going at high speed now. It didn't happen before, but because the roads are very quiet now, they think they've got the rule of the roads, but they don't realise, once you've got out at the other end of Gisborne Road towards Bracewell, traffic's there, and even coming up, going past Gisborne Road Strafe shops, they're having to anchor up. Somebody's going to get really hurt with these tractors going at a high speed. Thank you for letting me speak as well. Thank you.
Oh. You're on mute, Chair.
I coughed, so I muted myself. That stretch of road is one that we highlighted in the list that we submitted recently. So it is, again, it's one that is on our agenda, and we're just trying to get it onto other people's agendas as well. Can I ask if there's any further issues that people want to raise? If not, Joanne, you've got a note of those particular issues that we've flagged up for the umpteenth time, I'm afraid. Can we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is planning applications? We have one planning application, which is reserved matters for the erection of 10 dwellings to the west of Birtwistle Court at Kelbrook Road on Bonolswick. This is a detailed application. The outline planning, in other words, the principle of planning was granted some time ago, So the applicants have now come back with details of the layout and the design. So the issues that we can consider are limited to those encompassed within the reserve matters. We can't object to the principle because that's been decided by a government inspector. We do have a report that was submitted by email, which is an update. I'm going to ask Neil if he could just recap what the issues are in the update, and for anybody that hasn't seen that, and then we'll get into the discussion. So Neil, can I ask you to come in, please?
Thank you, Chairman. There's not a great deal to report on the update. We have some revised landscaping showing some additional planting on the western boundary towards the open countryside, just to bolster that. That was at the request of our countryside officer, Lee. There's some, we have issues around materials. It's slate effect, stone and render. There's a slight change to the proposed conditions, which basically just means that they have to submit final details before they start above ground works. That means they can get the drainage and other elements in whilst they're looking at that. Chairman, we have confirmation that the drainage, because one of the proposals is to lay a pipe across other people's land, and there's an agreement with the landowner surrounding that. That's been confirmed. And then we have a number of additional or amended conditions in line with the information I've just detailed. So, Chairman, the recommendation is still that the application is an acceptable one.
Thank you very much, Neil. Could I ask if you've covered this point about the diverted culvert and the impact on the root protection areas of the trees, which is detailed in the update?
Sorry, Chairman, just let me go back to that in my notes with that. Chairman, that is recommending that we delegate this, Chairman, to us to ensure that the proposals won't affect the trees. So we want to discuss that with our tree officer.
Okay, so can I just unpack that a little bit in terms of anybody that might be viewing the meeting? So a proposal to delegate grant consent is that it would show that committee are minded to approve it. We're not happy with the details, which need further work. So any such proposal would delegate the decision to yourself, subject to the satisfactory receipt of adequate details or plans or whatever they may be. Is that right?
There's concern that the rerouting may affect the roots and it could cause the trees to die. So we just want to make sure that we adequately assess those. So if we can't resolve that, then, Chairman, we would obviously bring the matter back. But we think there is a way of resolving that.
Thank you. Probably too many roots in that sentence, rerouting and roots, but never mind.
Apologies for that.
Okay. Can I be clear about the culvert? Is it just serving the low, that particular piece of land, or is it a culvert that comes across Kelbrook Road from the properties on the other side? I'm aware that there is quite a major culvert that runs down from property on the higher land there, and then eventually it sort of connects up into the Bowker Drain, which runs alongside the canal and underneath Silent Night.
Neil, you're on mute.
Sorry, Chairman, apologies for that. I will just go back to that plan. Chairman, it's on several different plans, but we know that the culvert comes down across from the houses on the other side of Kelbrook Road and down. We're aware of that. And if I move across, you can see the proposal is to divert from around there. Chairman, what I haven't got is beyond the fields on another plan. I don't know where the culvert precisely ends up, Chairman. So I can't give you that. What I can say is that it is part of United Utilities, and they are indicating that provided the discharge is at 5 litres per second, the Greenfield runoff rate, they have no objections to that being used.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Can I ask for contributions from committee members? Don't all jump at once. Jane.
Just on that culvert, sorry, got a bit of a frog in my throat. I've seen reported somewhere in the information that there is a flooding issue across Kelbrook Road near where the culvert is at the other side of the road where those houses are. And the flooding comes off the road and down that stretch of development land, causing issues to the building. I'm trying to think of the farm. I can't just remember what the farm's called now.
Lower Park.
Lower Park, is it? And he's having problems in his already in the courtyard area with flooding coming off that stretch of land. Is this development likely to cause more problems to that particular, to the Lower Park Farm residents? I mean, we don't know whether or not the culvert, there's actually a problem within that culvert, which is backing this water up. I presume investigations will have to be made. But, you know, we're happy that a sustainable system can be put in place to not have an impact on this farm. Thank you.
Neil.
Chairman, this is an awkward one in many ways. I did read the comments that have been made. This is, in principle, an issue for the outline consent to say whether there will be issues away from the site. The decision which was made by the planning inspector requires certain information to be submitted as part of the application, which relates to this drainage strategy. One of the things was a flood accedance route where water, if it does come across the application site, where that will go to. Chairman, that's the plan that I've just put up. So the information we have is if it did surcharge across, it would not affect Lower Park Farm. That would be the general route that any excess water will go. Beyond that, Chairman, it's difficult for us to re-examine the principle of this overall development at this reserve matter stage.
So you're saying that that's something that we cannot go back to?
general impact of this site on surroundings would have been one that is dealt with at the outline stage. We're looking at the details here. The details are bound by what the inspector required on the conditions. One of the conditions is about a flood accedance route, which is shown that I've just, on the plan that I've just shown. Chairman, I'm, as always with these things, I'm guided by the lead local flood authority, who would look at these issues, and they are satisfied with that and the level of detail submitted with this. So from the information we have, it would not affect detrimentally the properties below Lower Park Farm, below the site. And Chairman, obviously the any effluent emanating from the site itself will be channeled through the flood storage measures which are proposed on the drainage plan.
Okay, can we set that issue just to one side for the moment? Because, I mean, we don't even know if the drainage scheme that they come up with can be achieved without the damage to the trees. So, you know, we're in a bit uncertain territory. Can I ask colleagues if they have any views about other aspects of the application? So we're looking at design, the layout, you know, are those issues appropriate? Any views on that? Ken.
Thank you, Jen. The short answer is really yes and no. I'm just having a wee bit of a beef about further extension of the settlement boundary towards Salterford. But I can't for the life of me think of a good excuse that Neil isn't going to slap my wrist over if I mention it. I'm not at all happy about the location of this and the extension, cutting out yet more countryside, sitting on the edge of a floodplain that we already know is in trouble and going to get even more into trouble as we progress with climate change and other developments which we can't consider. I'm really just saying that I'm not particularly a happy bunny, but I can't think of a good planning reason to reject the application. Sorry, Chair, thank you.
Yeah, I think we did give it our best shot at the outline stage, where that principle of, you know, the settlement boundary extending along Talbot Road towards Salterford was really our strongest card, and the government planning inspector didn't give that much credence at all. And I seem to recall that we had costs awarded against us for having the temerity to challenge the application on that basis. So I think that's a broken reed, and we'd be struggling to. Well, we can't do anything. We can't go back to that. Ken, you want to come back in?
Thank you, Chair. Again, in principle, I think the layout and design are as good as we're ever going to get in this day and age for a small development in this area. And therefore, I guess reluctantly, I'm going to propose that we do delegate grant consent to our planning manager for subsequent approval of the application.
Jane, was that a legacy hand, or you want to come back in?
Thank you, Chairman. Before Ken just put that proposal there, I was just thinking about the inspector's remarks on the appeal, and I think it was her, I'm not sure. The main thinking on that was that it was the impact on the character of the area. I think that was the kind of the strongest one, but couldn't really comment on it because the plans about the appearance and everything have not been submitted. So I think the only sort of things that we could go on is something to do with the layout, scale, appearance, those sort of things, and how it affects the character of the area.
Thank you. Right, well, we have a proposal on the table which is to delegate granting consent subject to satisfactory details of the drainage scheme being submitted, which would not adversely affect the root protection areas of the trees. I mean, that actually, you know, could be a catch-22, so we'll have to see what comes in on that one. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, David.
Thank you, Jennifer. So it's moved and seconded. Can I ask if there's any further comment? I'm not seeing anybody. Should I take a roll call or ask Joanne to take a roll call? So it's whether you are in favour or against.
Do you want me to do a roll call, David?
Well, I'm just trying to assess the mood of the committee, but everybody's been very deadpan. So, I mean, I think there's a great reluctance, really. You know, we're not happy, but we lost the argument on this one many months ago. I mean, there is a very real issue in terms of the drainage and the impact on the trees, which may not be able to be resolved. So, I mean, it could be that it ends up coming back to committee with that being a sticking point, but we don't know that that's the case. Could I just see if people are generally assenting to what's been moved by Ken and seconded by Jennifer? Can you signify by nodding your heads or shaking your heads as appropriate? There's general nods, so I don't think we don't need to do the roll call. So we'll take it. It has been passed that delegated consent is there, and it all depends on whether the details can come in terms of the drainage and the impact on the trees. Okay, we will move on, and item 5B is just to report that we don't have any current appeals, although that was the position before Christmas. We haven't had any more in, have we, Neil?
Chairman, no valid appeals. We've got a couple of others in the rest of the pack, which we're asking for additional time on because we received them right in the middle of our holidays. So we need a bit of time to register them, but none in West Craven that I'm aware of. Okay, thank you. Moving on then, item 6 is a report on enforcement action. The former Gospel Mission Hall due to go back to court, but we don't know when that might be, and it could be a protracted period due to current COVID-19 conditions. The second item should be taken off now. Neil? Chairman, just a bit of information, and it will, when we, if we go into the exempt item as well later. Chairman, we have now, we've got new solicitors starting with us yesterday. A lady called Nicola Hopkins is Barbara Kay's replacement. I've got a meeting with her on Thursday to go through the outstanding prosecutions and cases. So again, I did promise you after Christmas we'll get more up to speed with enforcement. We've got a new enforcement officer started yesterday, so that will kick in as well. He's already going out on site. So, Chairman, next committee will be the time when you can tell me if I'm not doing my job properly and quickly enough, and we can give you updates on progress on all the cases in more detail. Thank you very much. Just on the court issue, Councillor Tom Whip was not summoned to go to court, but attended court as a witness for the Borough Council, not on a planning issue, and waited patiently for 4 hours to
to give his evidence, and then the case was adjourned through till next April. So rather an abortive waste of an afternoon, but I think that's par for the course when it gets towards litigation. Can we note the position with those items and I'll move on? Yeah. So item 7 then is the capital programme, and this is to report that there's a balance of £500 available for the 2 Bonalswick wards, all the other funding being allocated, and for Earby ward, which covers Earby, Calbrook, Salterford and Suff, there's a balance of £5,829. We have a request for funding from the Calbrook and Suff Village Hall, who are wanting to extend the fire alarm system into the older parts of the hall, and they're requesting a sum of £1,200 to make that possible. Can I ask, Rosemary, are you wanting to move that?
Yeah, I'll move that recommendation, Chair.
Thank you very much. And that's supported. I think we'll all agree with that one. So take that one as agreed. Yep. Is there anything further on the capital programme? No. Moving on then to item 8, which is reopening of Bonalswick and Earby town centres. And you'll recall at the last meeting that Councillor Tom Whip and I had done a considerable amount of measuring up in order to fit pop-up marquees along Victoria Road in Earby and in parts of Victoria Road in Earby, on Albert Road in Bonalswick, and following the meeting, we were advised that such expenditure is not eligible for that funding stream. So Tom and I are sort of just throwing our hands up in disbelief with this. As far as Bonalswick's concerned, the town council have taken a decision to purchase some of these pop-up marquees themselves, has been the most cost-effective way of doing it, and putting them out. But then, of course, we had briefly Tier 4. Now we've got a lockdown for the next couple of months, and we really are scratching our heads as to what effective measures we can take and which are permissible within the funding that is allowed. There's just been one suggestion, which is provision of automatic hand sanitisers, which could be put out on the street and taken in, or streets and taken in, to allow people to sanitise their hands frequently before going into different shops, and that comes at the cost of about £200 a throw, which, I mean, it seems worthwhile doing and it's within the rules, although when we started out on this we were advised that such stuff wasn't allowed. So again, my disgust with the whole process is increased by the contradictory advice that we're getting, really. So in terms of Earby, there is an option if people wanted to pursue the covered marquees for safe queuing, to use the revenue funds available from the Borough Council. Earby members might want to reflect on that. And then the second option that is on the table at present is the provision of these mobile automatic hand sanitisers, which could be placed throughout the shopping streets in both Barnoldswick and Earby, subject to some shopkeeper being willing to put them out and take them in as necessary. So, comments, Tom.
Thanks, Chair. The dispensers, can you actually purchase the hand sanitizer to go in them with the funding, or is it just the units themselves?
Yes, you can purchase a hand sanitizer. We've had that clarified with the liaison person.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. However, I mean, it's just a bit awkward taking them down and putting them up every single day. Is it not just an option to leave them out? I mean, what's the probability they'll be destroyed?
Jane's reacting very strongly to that comment. No, I think realistically, for any sort of longevity, that they would need to be deployed on a daily basis. And from what I've seen, they're not. It's not like they're massive. You don't need a forklift truck or a crane to do it. They are quite light. So right. I think it's a doable proposition, and at least we're doing something. Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think the sanitizer is probably the easy way of providing some support. The danger, of course, is how many you will need, because you'd have to offer them to all the shops that would continue to be open, and I think, top of my head, let's say there is 8 food units on Victoria Road, if you include the butcher, the baker, 2 bakers, 1 butcher, no candlestick maker, fruit and veg, 2 shops. So we would be talking, we could be talking about a couple of grand here.
Yeah, I think the deployment would be more sort of on a strategic basis. So you wouldn't necessarily have one for every shop that is open. You might have 3 or 4 on Victoria Road. Yeah, and then, maybe 2, perhaps 3 on Water Street in Earby. But yeah, you are talking about, maybe 10, as many as 10 in Earby. Yeah. So, that's not beyond the bounds of possibility. But, they are, it is well within the funding envelope that we've got. And there is currently the 31st of March deadline for actually using that particular part of the funding up. So it's not something that we can just leave it and, the funding is still available in the future. Neil may be saying that with the lockdown that we're currently in, they've extended that. Neil?
Chairman, they haven't extended it that I'm aware. They may do, but we haven't even got the contract fully in place yet. So that's that's what we're working on. Chairman, the other element to this is you can't use it for marketing a town to say Barnoldswick's wonderful, or Colne's wonderful, except if you do it on the basis of it's safe to shop. These are the measures we've come into. So, yeah. Chairman, I've asked my team to look at, can we do look at whether we can market with the context of come and do it safely here. So there's a bit of marketing in there, but it's also based around safety, because we've to display all the European logos and all that kind of stuff with that. So, Chairman, it is a restrictive amount of money that we've got. Going back to what Councillor Goethorpe was saying, Mike, we can't give individual shops, because that's subsidising individual shops. We're not allowed to do that, but you can put strategic things there and pay for the sanitizer, even if one shop controls it, if you will, and puts it out each day. But we're to be careful with that. And plus, we have got procurement rules if we go beyond certain thresholds. So, Chairman, I am conscious of the timescale we can procure reasonably quickly. We do have examples of the sanitisers that we've looked at in other towns, so we're aware of the type, so we can get that out to you very quickly. But Chairman, I wonder how is the best way to actually try and get to something. I don't want to lose this money to Pendle. If we've got it, we may as well use it. I'm just slightly concerned now about the timescales throughout, not just in West Craven. Chairman, would it be a suggestion that whoever wishes to be involved, and that's entirely up to you, we have a Teams meeting and go through perhaps some of the options we've got in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, that's the basis that we started out on. We didn't have a great many takers for putting the work in. So, I mean, Tom and I have led on it, and we've had the support from Barnoldswick Town Council, Earby Town Council, not as much. But we're not dependent on coming to this committee for a decision. We can crack on in between meetings, but we've thought it better to refer back as we've gone through the process and tried various alternatives and explored different avenues. I have got 3 speakers now, so Jennifer's next.
Yes, thank you, David. As an ex-shopkeeper, I would have been quite willing to have put one of those out and take it back inside. Surely the shopkeepers should be more, should be grateful that we're doing this, so that we can keep the businesses going. And I would love to see some sanitizer, the things going out. And I'd be quite willing to ask our shop to, get involved and take one out and put one in.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't leave them out all the time because, I mean, at night time you can see what's going to happen. They'll get vandalised. But, I mean, I would be quite willing to take one down and put it in our shop.
Yeah.
Without any problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane, you can't have one in your shop in Skipton.
Haha, we've already got one. So, yeah, I'm familiar with, the size and everything like that. I think looking at that side of things, I think that is a really good idea. We've only had one for the last few weeks, and to have that there as a backup, keeping people safe, that come in, the staff safe as well, and to have them dotted around, I think that is a really good idea. The other thing that came to mind was the mask situation, or the face covering. That quite a few people come out in a hurry and they forget the face masks, and they can go into a building, a shop, wherever it may be, and potentially can get refused service because they don't have a face covering. So I just wonder whether we could get hold of some masks. I don't know how people feel about that, and have these dotted around town, and then if people don't have a mask, shopkeepers say, well, actually, you can have one for your charge or whatever. It's just thinking along those sort of lines, really. Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the avenues that we explored early doors on this, because we thought it would be quite good to have a stock of that sort of material that people could use. And at the time, we would advise that that wasn't possible, but whether that advice has changed, I'm not right sure. And Neil might want to come back after the next couple of speakers to say on that one. Next person I've got is Tom.
Thanks, Chair. Just a really sort of left field idea, but do people remember the cardboard cutout policemen in shopping centres? There was a study done on why those were effective to stop shoplifting, and it was because of the eyes. And having a pair of eyes, even just an image of them, makes people feel a lot more conscientious. So they're less likely to steal. And my thinking is a pair of eyes would make people more likely to wash their hands. So my idea, which I've just had, is why not have cardboard cutout heads on the sanitisation automatic things, whatever type we're getting, to sort of invoke that more conscientious sort of parts of our brain.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the nub of an idea that we can work on. Ken, talking about two eyes, I mean, I can see your face, but your eyes with the reflection of the screen on your glasses are the most prominent bit there. So I'm going to come back to Jennifer in a minute, but bring Ken in.
Chair, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We've talked about this long enough, and I think it's time that we showed a little bit of initiative and got something visible out in the streets that lets people know that we do care and we're not just a talking shop.
Absolutely.
And so I fully support the idea of the sanitizer. I like the idea of a cutout paramedic or as well or whatever to accompany them. Can we not just sort of delegate authority to this mini working group and Neil to go ahead and do it? Even on a sample basis, we can always double it up at another meeting or whatever if it proves to be an acceptable and a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to delegate any authority. I think we can just crack on, because originally, you know, it was a working group which encompassed the town councils, which hasn't, you know, sort of really worked. So, you know, we have referred back here, but yeah, I mean, my view is that we can, you know, subject to it being within the guidance, we can just get on with it. Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, David. Again, I totally agree with what everybody's saying with the face mask. I mean, we all make a mistake by sometimes forgetting to put our face mask on. But I totally agree. I should suggest that Barnoldswick be the first town and let people know that we're not going to sit by and we think more of our residents and get on with the job. Let's get on with it. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Neil, can I just bring you back in on that point about the PPE?
Chairman, I, as you at the start, didn't think we will be able to do even the hand sanitisers, but that's been clarified that we can. I would see the PPE no different to that because it's protecting members of the public, etc. That's what it's meant to do. So I think we'll go back and check on that, Chairman. You think things like how do you dispense them? I've not seen a dispenser of them except in packets. And what we don't want is someone thinking, oh, there's a free 50 of those and put them in the pocket and go away with it. So let's explore that. I think it's a good idea. And if we can give them out free, great, because we want to use the capital. The other ideas of Tom, I think that's great. We just need, if we're going to design things and then procure it and then get it to us, we need to there'll be a lag time with those. We need to crack on, but I think that's a good idea. And posters, etc., exactly what this money's about. So the quicker we can do that and agree where they'll go on the design, the better, I think. Okay.
Jane, you want to come back?
Just a quick one. Some people are a little bit afraid to come out because they don't wear masks, and have kind of been afraid to be insulted and one thing or another. I just wonder whether you could get any lanyards, you know, the sunflower ones, and have it with the council or Pendleborough Council or whatever, and to be able to have those available to people to go in the civic hall or particular places where they can pick them up free of charge, and then they're feeling a little bit happier about walking around town and not being approached as to why they're not wearing a face mask. It's just another option, that's all.
Could we go one step further? Because I can't see what objection people would have to wearing a shield, a face, a shield over the face, not a mask. So, perhaps we could encompass, providing shields to people, not giving them a lanyard to say I'm exempt, giving them a shield to say I'm doing my bit. Yeah, is that a nod of assent?
And any sort of options to try and make things easier.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any further, Christine? Sorry, Governor.
Stop it. It might be. I mean, is it just for shops, or is it an idea to put them at bus stops or a bus? I haven't been on a bus lately, but a bus is providing their own hand sanitizer. Would it be ideal, or have you not got many to go out? I mean, if it's more important to put outside shops, but I was just thinking bus stops, just the main ones.
Well, I mean, certainly in Barlick, the town council could organise, deploying things into the main bus stops, at least during the week, if not at weekends. So that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ken?
You, Chair. I support Christine on that in terms of bus stops, particularly for the villages. Those areas that don't have shops, particularly, but who necessarily need transport to get to shops for their essential supplies. I think that some dispensers and/or masks at bus stops in the villages of Salterborough, Kelbrook and stuff are a really good idea, because it does encourage people to think safety, even though they might be living in some of the safest areas in the borough.
Okay, we might need to explore who would take custody of those, but that's not beyond the wit. So several ideas there. Are there any further suggestions? In terms of the sorts of, sort of reopening safely, video and stills that we could produce. I think we had suggested those earlier on, and there was general acquiescence to that. So we've got a few things there that we can progress with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Content on that? Any further speakers? No. Right. We'll go forward on that direction. Peter, you're looking very grim. You've got your arms folded. You sat there like you're in a firing line. So there you are. That's a bit more animated. Yeah. I'm just, I'm not quite sure what you're doing now. Is it an uncomfortable bench or something? Right. Next item is environmental blight. We always like to have a cheerful agenda, and environmental blight is one of those cheerful items. These are areas where we're concerned that land isn't as tidy as it might be, and this is specifically land in the Borough Council's ownership. So we've got 2 sites listed, which is the Damhead Garage site, and I'll ask Councillor Tom Whip to speak on that one. And then we've got West Close Lorry Park, where there is a particular problem with fly tipping, which I report pretty regularly, really, and partly, at least, that's caused by the Household Waste Recycling Centre not being open for 7 days a week. So we do notice that stuff has been dumped on the days that it's been closed, and there continues to be a significant number of people who turn up on a Tuesday and a Wednesday expecting it to be open, and I think Councillor Tom Whip did notice somebody leaving something at the gates. So anyway, I'll bring Tom in on the Damed garage site, and he might want to comment on Lorry Park as well.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, the Damhead site, there's just a lot of garages that are falling to pieces. A lot of them don't appear to be used at all. I mean, there is some fly tipping there as well. It's just overall an eyesore, really, and I think it could be done better. The West Close Road Lorry Park, maybe we need another cardboard cutout there, another policeman. But I mean, it is so regular now. I mean, last time me and David were there, we found 2 sets of skis on the roof of our containers.
Yes.
I just don't understand it. I think county definitely needs to put something in place to stop that continued fly tipping. They are the cause of it. Why should Pendle be constantly picking up the bill for cleaning it up? Yeah.
Okay, we should point out that we didn't jettison the skis. We actually put them in the container, and had I remembered about them, I'd have gone and retrieved them to use in the latest snowfall. I don't think I've got any ski boots that would be appropriate for a job. But yeah, so I think we're keeping both on the list, and asking Mr. Walker and his merry people to maintain their vigilance.
Happy to, Chair. We have been monitoring the sites, and as you said, on occasions that we do visit, it is clear, but on occasions when we go, there are small items possibly linked to the closure of the recycling centre. So we'll keep monitoring and also report the necessary authority.
Thank you very much. Okay. Ken, you want to speak?
Yes, please, Chair. Chair, do you think there might be any mileage to ask county to install some recycling bins, the large type recycling bins on the external wall inside the car park itself, so that if people do turn up and they can't get through the gates, at least there's somewhere that they can deposit their bottles, cardboard, whatever. You know, maybe not a full suite, but the more prevalent items that are fly tipped at the gates.
Can we give that some thought, Ken? I mean, what I've noticed when we had the Bring sites is that they were a magnet for dumping. And I recall we ended up with the one on Raynell Road car park. We just got so fed up of everything getting dumped there that, you know, we just said take the whole lot out, because it was a mess, and I'm fearful that we'd end up with the same again at the gates, and the county council, you know, won't have the wherewithal to move material. And anyway, you get my drift. David, you want to come in on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just looking at the report from the officers that visit the scene, it's not really recyclable materials that are collected through the curbside schemes that are being left. It's ranging from suitcases, bicycles, metal cabinets. So they're not things that would necessarily go into bring sites.
Okay. Well, let's have a think on about that, and we can discuss it amongst ourselves and see if there's any agreement on it. In the meantime, resolution to maintain monitoring on both these areas. Okay. Yeah. Item 10 is about public transport in West Craven area. A 2 or 3 meetings ago now, we had concerns raised about the adequacy of the WIS services through to Skipton, both from the point of view of timeliness, cancellations, and overcrowding at times. And we have had further complaints about this since. We have a report which goes into the response that we've had from Transdev and in part from the County Council, and that's before committee members. So who'd like to come in on this one? Jane?
Sorry about that, Chair. The thing on the laptop's going a bit slow. Yes, there's been quite a lot of complaints regarding the capacity on the on certain buses at school times and people coming to and from work. And I don't really think this report picks up on the issue of capacity. I think it says something about the capacity and occupancy levels, of services used by pupils, and this is reported back at a future meeting. But there's nothing to say that what is happening with the capacity. If capacity is halved due to social distancing, then half of those people are going to have to find some other alternative way of travelling. And is it just a single decker bus that's being put on? If that's the case, why are they not putting a double decker bus on? And look, you know, I mean, they're losing money there by having people stranded and finding other means. Not only that, what for me rubs salt into the wound is that they've just announced 14 new super buses, double-decker whiz buses, to serve the Manchester route. And I just think we're just being shortchanged terribly by Transdev. I don't know if anybody else has got any comments on that. Thank you.
I'd agree with the points that you're making. My suggestion would be that in terms of the capacity issues, the timeliness and cancellations, that we seek a virtual meeting with Transdev to go into greater detail with this. And I wonder whether the committee would support that. Any further comments? No. Can we suggest then that we have we call for a meeting with them and see what, if anything, we can hammer out? Mike, you wanted to come in?
Just to say, you're 100% correct. I think you've got to see the whites of their eyes to get any sense from this company. This has been going on for a considerable amount of time. You're aware of it, Chairman. I'm aware of it. We don't get much support back from them, and I think Jane's right in terms of we're losing out. We are. There's no doubt about that. But we've never yet managed to bring them to the heel type of thing. So, but yeah, I think let's get round and talk about it with them and see if we can get some sense out of them. Clearly, we're not getting much now.
I think we need to be clear that we haven't got a checkbook, because every time we ask Transdev a question, they say, well, you know, sort of, how many notes are you putting on your check? And you know, we're not in that business at all. I think it's a case of, you know, we're not satisfied with the level of service that they're providing, the impact that that's having on people, and perhaps the safety, the impact that has been having. You know, I don't know whether the traffic commissions have any power nowadays, but you know, perhaps a follow up might be to look at that. Jane, do you want to come back in?
Yes, just that I'm quite happy to do what you suggested. Really, you know, to take whatever sort of action we can to try and get some sort of resolution to it. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Are we all agreed on that? Yeah. Thank you very much. Item 11 is the first of 2 residents-only parking schemes that have been requested. The first one is for Parkview Terrace, and we had a request from all of the residents on Parkview Terrace for a residents-only scheme. This was prompted pre-COVID-19 days by the parking in connection with the play area across the road from this row of houses. A survey has been carried out, and without going into the detail of it, it says there are 9 spaces within the marked out area, but it says that apart from the Thursday evening, there is no evidence to indicate that there is an issue with non-residential traffic parking in the area. Now, that seems to be contrary to the evidence that the residents were providing, and the recommendation in the report is that there isn't sufficient evidence to support the introduction of a scheme, and that one should not be introduced. I'd like to propose something different to that, in that I do think the residents provided evidence of the problem earlier, and that we ought to pursue this and take it forward and ask the County Council to support the establishment of residents-only parking in that part of Salterford, and I would so move. Is that supported?
I'll second that.
Yeah. Any further comments? No? Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you very much. The second residence parking request is for Long Ing Lane in Barnoldswick, and this is opposite Silent Night. And again, there's been a survey, and there's a table that sets out the amount of residential and non-residential parking, and it's overwhelmingly residents parking rather than visitor parking. So with this one, I'm not so sure that it's a much weaker case than the one that there was for Parkview Terrace at Salterford, and I just wonder what committee members think about it and whether we can justify pushing this one forward or not. Are there any views? Courts Ward councillors? Jane?
Thank you. It takes ages. I've got a hunt for my hand to raise it. So this one on Long Ing Lane, the figures on there do look like the majority of the parking is residential, and the figures differ quite greatly from the figures on the previous one. So I'm a bit like you. We want to support our residents in the problems that they're having, but with these figures, it is difficult. Or whether we can go back and look at it again, I don't know. But you know, there's like 100% residential parking on quite a lot of the times, you know, during the week. So it's a difficult one, that. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Is there anybody wanting to champion? Ken?
I agree with you on this one, Chairman. I think that the case for residents-only parking in this area is very weak. And I would support not pursuing it any farther.
Okay. Is that generally agreed then? Tom, you want to come in?
Yes, Chair. I'm afraid I'll have to agree with that. I mean, it's difficult, and I would like to say yes, but it's just not justified.
Okay. Right. Well, I think there's a clear view being expressed there. So in this case, we agree with the recommendation. Is committee in favour of that?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Right. That takes us on to items for discussion. And I did have a picture lined up of open reach vans in their masses being assembled on various streets in Bonaldswick. The first item is, unfortunately, I've lost it. I've gone on to something else. So the first item is the rollout of fibre to the premises broadband in West Craven. And the situation that we currently have is that Openreach have identified the Bonaldswick exchange as an exchange to be upgraded to fibre to the premises. And this is much better broadband than the fibre to the cabinet that we've currently got. And it actually, in the same way that Virgin does in Colne, it brings the faster fibre speed right into the home or into the business. And there's a national rollout for rural areas, which we are deemed to be one of them. And because of the absence of competitors, i.e. Virgin, Openreach have identified the Bonaldswick exchange as one that gets high priority. They're currently carrying out survey work and ensuring that ducts are free to allow the fibre cables to get through, and working out how they will then get the fibre from the various nodes that they have on the system into people's properties. For the most part, they will use existing poles or ducts in those areas where ducts have been installed as part of developments. In some cases, there may be need for them to trench pavements in order to put new ducts in place. Their aim is to have the programme up and running by spring, and that they will start to make the new fibre offering available to businesses and residents in April, with the rollout extending over the following few months. Salterford is included in that programme because it's served by the Bonaldswick Exchange, and indeed Salterford will be, the properties in Salterford will be the first where it will become available. Some of the Seddons development, for instance, already have this facility. So, it will be good for the rest of the village and indeed the outlying areas. I met together with other council people with Openreach a few months ago now, and our request was for the programme to extend to the Earby exchange, and indeed to places like Falridge and other parts of the borough that don't benefit from fibre to the premises at the moment. So my purpose in putting the item on the agenda today was to get a committee resolution actually reiterating that request and asking Policy and Resources if there could be a wider approach in terms of the rural parts of Pendle and trying to get the fibre to the property rolled out across the piece. And in terms of our committee, obviously, it's the Earby exchange that's key now to that expansion. So I think, couple that general request with a specific request that the Earby exchange has the benefit of the fibre rollout. The spine of the new system will be coming through Kelbrook. It'll come along the A56 and then up Kelbrook New Road. They've already been doing some work on that. So, actually extending the spine through to the Earby exchange is, sort of technically relatively easy. And from the point of view of getting Openreach to agree to the work, they have a strategic decision-making body that we've not been able to access. But I think if we make an approach on a Pendle-wide basis, that we ought to be able to make some progress on that. And just as a matter of information, I've been invited to a progress walkabout, really, in terms of the extension of the spine through from the Nelson Exchange through Colne and then onwards to West Craven, and that's taking place tomorrow. So I may know more about the progress of the scheme, but if we can resolve to ask for it to be rolled out to Earby and other rural areas of Pendle, and we ask Policy and Resources to consider that and take that one forward. Who else would like to speak on it? Tom? Ken?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would support that. I think it is particularly important, perhaps even more important for the rural areas of Pendle to get included in this scheme. Very often, the rural areas do get left behind, and it will be nice for a change to be in the vanguard rather than, eating the dust at the back of the queue.
Well, I think we've been on the wrong side of the digital divide for many years, Ken. I think we're still playing catch up, but at least we're seeing some progress in that respect. Right, I've got Tom and then Jane.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I'm just amazed it took so long for them to do it at this point. I mean, I don't think we're really a rural town in the sort of population sense of 12,000 people, but there we go. Yeah, I definitely think Earby should be on the list. I think we should, as a committee, definitely express that to Openreach. I did think that maybe Pendle Council should do some publicity about it. I'd just be concerned about residents getting a broadband deal now, getting locked in for 2 years, and then in 6 months' time, when fiber's rolled out in their area, all their other neighbours who've come out of their 2-year contracts, they're paying half the price for twice the speed, and they're stuck in their old contract. I think it would be useful knowledge for the people of Pendle to, well, I suppose it's West Craven in particular, because the rest of Pendle already has it. But it would be useful for people to know that this is happening and give them the facts, really.
Yeah. I don't think the rest of Pendle necessarily has it. Certainly the major urban areas do, but quite a lot of the periphery don't, and I don't think Folridge fare very well. In fact, Folridge suffers from, in the same way that Salterford has done, suffer from poor mobile coverage, poor radio coverage, and so for somewhere like Folridge, the potential for the fibre to the premises is very, very powerful. As it is with the other parts of West Craven. Jane.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Just a quick one on that. Definitely in favour of trying to get this broadband, this new site where we can. Really thinking about businesses at the moment. Businesses are struggling. A lot of moving online to get a faster, high-speed broadband into these places. Even the little villages will help that situation. And keep businesses operating. And I think it's great what Tom's come up with. Let's put the message out there. That we can move forward with this, and businesses can move forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Is there general agreement then? Yep. Thank you very much. The other item on this this part of the agenda is to give further consideration to tree planting with a view to consenting to the use of Woodland Trust whips being planted on council land. Now, this is really Councillor Tom Whip, and the reason why it's on the agenda is that the Woodland Trust require landowner consent as part of their application process, and there was one particular plot of land that had been identified where the Woodland Trust provision was appropriate, but we didn't have specific consent. So, Councillor Tom Whip.
Thanks, Chair. I'd move that we approve the use of the land for the planting. I think the area in question is Bank Street, I believe. Although I suppose we could just agree to a wiser umbrella of all the council-owned land in West Craven, really. Within agreeableness. I think we're too late this year to order the Woodland Trust packs for Bank Street now. But next year, I think this will be very welcomed.
But when you say this year, you mean this planting season?
This plant, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think the request is specifically in terms of Bank Street, and if we do it on a location by location basis, that would make more sense than the sort of trying to do a blanket thing, as we might have objections. Ken.
Thank you, Chair. There is in existence, generated through work done through the Climate Emergency Working Group, a list of Pendle Borough Council owned sites that have been identified for tree planting. Maybe we should just request that the Bank Street site be included on that list.
We can do that. I mean, when the list was first published, there weren't any sites in West Craven, and Tom's done quite a bit of work to expand that the inclusion of land. It was the specific issue about the Woodland Trust and then being able to say we've got landowner consent to be able to apply for those trees.
My point being that if the Climate Emergency Working Group has, through their work, identified the sites, by implication, it is agreed that the council has agreed that
yeah,
where whatever source of tree could be planted on that.
Okay, yeah. Belt and braces. Okay, are we agreeable to that, Jane?
Yeah, I was just going to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if we're agreed on that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an outstanding item about the impact of large-scale redundancies on the local economy, which obviously has been picked up by other parts of the council and beyond. Clearly, we've now got an even worse position. I mean, when we first discussed this, there were, perhaps 1,000 redundancies on the cards through local companies, and since then, the second tranche of jobs under threat at Rolls-Royce have been announced, with the move of the static component work to Spain. So, it's not looking any rosier, and obviously very serious situation. We did say that as a committee we would seek to meet with businesses and discuss, how, if we can help. That's not been taken forward, principally because of pressure on everybody at Pendle, really. But it is something that if we can move forward on that, we may be able to assist in small ways to ensure that the business that we do have continue to thrive rather than see them waning. So we'll try and do some work on that in the coming months, despite the exigencies of COVID-19 and the pandemic. Item 15 is to consider exclusion of the press and public, and this is because the two items that we're going on to refer to specific locations and addresses, and there is concern through GDPR, whichever way you say it, the requirements in respect of privacy, that if we discuss these in public, then people could challenge our consideration as not being compliant with the regulations. Tom.
Thanks, Chair. You did get it right. It's General Data Protection Regulations. I'd just like to sort of raise my concern, really, that there's some parts of the secret agenda which could be discussed in public that only refer to areas or past developments which are of public in the public domain, are not necessarily related to individuals, which I think doesn't necessitate the need to be discussed in private. And I just wished really that there was a separate public part where more discretion is used in selecting those. Not to push the issue now, but for further consideration. Yeah,
well, I think if you recall when this first began, I tried splitting it in the meeting, and we did discuss some in open session. There was some pushback against that. So, I've let it ride, but I think if committee's agreeable, we can make representations to try and differentiate between those items which need to be discussed in private and those which can be discussed in public. So unless anybody says to the contrary, we'll put that as a rider on this resolution. But I would move that we do exclude press and public for the next consideration, next item on the agenda. Neil, you want to come in on this?
Yes, just briefly, Chairman. I think there's possibly a wider debate, and I may be overstepping the mark. Apologies if I am, but my professional and personal view is this is just nonsense that we can't talk about a known property in the street. But the facts are that councils have been heavily fined for doing it, despite you being able to walk past the property and see it. So if you can go to land registry and find out who owns a property, that's a data breach, which I will say I think just is nonsense. But I understand data protection is great, but not being able to discuss a problem building is taking it too far, in my view.
Yeah,
and I'll get it off my chest, Chairman.
Yeah, and in particular because many of the issues that we're discussing are matters of public concern, and have been raised by members of the public, and they want to know what's going on about stuff. Anyway, we've made the point, and we'll make the point and ask for this to be reviewed. For the meantime, I think we're bound to close down the live stream. Thank everybody who's joined us this evening or who views this committee in future, and we'll pick up these last two items without the benefit of a public airing. Thank you.